So, hello friends. Today we have our guest all the way from New York, and his name is Pawar. So, he's working with the startups, Fortune 500 clients as Scrum Master with rich experience in coaching, mentoring agile teams. And today we are going to discuss some of the hardest situational interview questions which every experienced Scrum Master face in their interviews. So, stay with us till end of the session and welcome Jay. Many thanks for giving your time.
Thank you very much. First of all, thanks to you for inviting me to your channel and having me go through this because I know this will help a lot of people. I know I watched a couple of your
Yes.
um, talks on your channel and it was helpful for me. So I'm pretty sure, this will carry on. So thank you.
Yeah. That's great. So why don't you share your journey, how you started as a Scrum Master and how's your transition happened into the role of a Scrum Master?
Okay, sure. I'll start from the beginning. So basically, I started as a front-end web developer, and the organization I was with at that time ran like a startup. And in startup culture, right, it's multiple people and or short group of people wearing multiple hats. And then through that, my Scrum Master slash product owner was out sometimes and every now and then for business trips. So that gave me an opportunity to jump in Scrum Master shoe and be on the driver's side, right? And once I started doing it, I actually fell in love with the framework. I fell in love with how you interact with people, how you have to coach and mentor and guide the teams. And for me, it was like, wow, there's such a framework that breaks down complex problems into smaller sets, and it also focuses on people. It's just not deliver the best product, but then also make people better every day, right? It's like, how are you better from yesterday? So that was kind of like got me started, and from there I actually got my certification for Scrum Master. Then I worked on my safe certification, and that's the history. And I've been coaching and mentoring for about more than 6 years now, and I love it every single day with different challenges, different people, different personalities.
Absolutely. That's great, Jay. Okay. So I know like you work with the startups and other Fortune 500 clients. So is there any difference the way Agile is implemented in a small and a large organization? If you want to share your experience.
Sure, I'll share from my perspective, and then I'm sure different Scrum Masters have different thoughts and experience-wise, right? So for me, one of the differences between startups and established company, right, Fortune 500, is the mindset. So when you go into a startup, you are basically trying to figure out how to improve things, how to make things better. And agile implementation is quite easier because people are willing to learn, people are willing to change. On the other hand, if you go to a big company, they already have certain processes in place for good reasons, for because how they want to deliver certain things and how they want to. And then other thing is that people in established companies already been in the industry for like 6 7 years, so they are on specific and articulate about certain processes in place, right? So they're like not willing to change so easily. So setting the mindset, it's kind of hard in the bigger and larger companies. And also is like, with startup, you can implement new ways of doing things rather than in the bigger company, right?
Yeah, they are more open towards the change and they're not that much rigid. That's what also. Yeah.
Right. Inspection and adaptation happens quite often in startup.
Okay, good. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you a couple of situational questions,
Sure.
and I hope you will definitely going to answer for our viewers. So we all make mistake, and we wish like if we could have take back those kind of mistake, if we can go back and change something. So tell me about a time you wish you had handled a situation differently with your colleague or with your team members or with your senior, anyone like that.
Yes, it's a good question. So kind of like I'm thinking about it, it's mistakes. So I'll start with this. I actually tell people make mistakes because if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. Right. And then I take on the mentality of, right, it's like the parenting. When your kids make mistakes, you always try to correct them, and then that same thing you try to do at work, but take a different approach there. Not saying that you should try to make mistakes every now and then, even if you know that, but making mistakes will help you. So or I can give you two examples actually, mistakes that I made and then I wish didn't have made those mistakes. One is that I left one of my teams in one of the products we were working on and the project in the middle of our transformation. My job was not done there, right? We had a lot to go through. However, I was offered more money, right, to do better things. So I moved out. So I really felt once I left, I felt, it was a bad move for me because I left the team in the middle of it. I did not complete my job there to help them transform into an agile organization, even though I know it takes a long time. It's not a short time, but at that time, I did it because of the needs of the money, and it's like, hey, the name of the company. And then other situation I can tell you about is I actually let one of the products out into public's hands, knowing that it wasn't going to meet the client's expectations. And I did it because of the hardship that we talked about it in the previous question. What is the difference between the larger organization? So it was a larger established organization, and then it was hard to change the mindset of people, but they said they want to put this product out, and I knew that we were going to get a lot of complaints and stuff, but I let it happen. And it was a bad move because we all had to kind of deal with the consequences of that.
Okay.
And I wish I didn't have done that.
Yeah,
But
thanks.
I did
Thanks
it
for
for learnings only.
thanks for your honest answers, Jay. Okay, that's great. Okay, so tell me more about client interaction. So let's say if I'm going to ask you if your team has not meet a client expectation, so what you will do as a Scrum Master to rectify that situation?
Okay. So meeting expectation is different clients deal with different expectations, or product wise and industry wise that could change. But if my team does not meet expectation, there's probably a reason, right? So talking about deadlines, right? And let's say you have a deadline set up already, right? And you just joined the team newly, and you're saying, okay, why we're not meeting the deadline? Work with the stakeholders, work with business people, try to figure out what the MVP is. Not that you missed the deadline, but then figure out what can be delivered soon as possible and what does it look like in the MVP form, right? And discuss that with the developers, right? How soon can we deliver that? And work on those timelines with your stakeholders to correct that problem. And then, if you can't deliver 100% of the product, then deliver 80, 70% of it, and then work for the next 30% for like in the upcoming month or two, depending on what the timeline looks like.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, and
Looks
tell
like
me,
there is a lag.
yeah, just 1 second lag is there. Yeah. Okay, interesting. So, can you describe a time when you saw some problem and you have taken the initiative to correct it rather than waiting for someone else to do it? Can you able to recall any of such kind of instances in the past?
Yes, I think I can. What I can say is my early stage in the career, when I actually started out, right, and I joined this large organization. I noticed that there was no alignment in between the senior leadership and the development team, or the technical team, you can say, right? To when I noticed the alignments, right, I noticed that they don't communicate that well either. And since I was in the early stage of my career, I didn't really know what to do and how to approach this. So I started researching about it, like, hey, how do we actually fix alignments? So what I found out that, maybe taking safe will help me, and maybe some of the coaches or scrum master will disagree with me, because safe is like very specific to what one needs. So at that time I felt like safe will help me and guide me better and help the senior management align and go through value streaming exercise to make sure that we're delivering value and we're adding value. So I took the initiative to actually move forward and lead them through safe transformation. Not the whole transformation, but at least to get everything synchronized, get everything aligned at a higher level, and get them to deliver more, of course.
So it was a successful move?
Yes, it was very helpful, again, to me, and then to the whole organization also.
Okay, Great initiative, I would say.
Yeah,
Okay.
as a Scrum Master, if you notice problems, right,
Yeah.
you should actually try to figure out what the solution can be. And you might not have answers right away, but it's like research through your research, right? You can relate some of the problems. You can study the cases that happened before, and try to bring in some of those practices. And
Okay. Good. Okay. So next sponsor is coming. Okay. So can you just describe a time when you had interacted with a difficult client, So if you're able to recall what was the situation and how you handle them. Sometimes we got some difficult client. So how to handle.
yeah, for handling a difficult client, actually, I do have certain experience, and one of the situations I can tell you is, I was actually hired into an organization as a contractor and the consultant, right? And when we started to implement or move towards our transformation, the client or the senior level again executive was like, no, we we don't change plans and we don't change the processes. We want to work with what we have. And basically, to work on the situation, I actually had to get the stakeholders in the room and talk about why the transformation or why setting up agile mindset is important for our product delivery. And what I did is I actually talked to the organization's product team and got the data together, right? So basically, when they were delivering, how fast they were delivering, and the number of bugs they were having when they were doing releases. So once I put the data out and we had put in some measurements points like, hey, we can put in some of the check-in points through this delivery cycle, right? And what happened is like we delivered first set, then we did a second release, and then a couple of things happened. The bugs were minimized. We had a better product that was delivered, and people were happy with. So that's how I approached it, and change his mindset also. So it's a communication and showing the data.
Okay. Good. Okay. So do you find a time when your team is struggling to stay motivated? How you boost the engagement or motivation of your team?
Yeah, I mean,
So for
um,
example, nowadays, a lot of job cuts or it can be any scenario.
yeah,
Sometimes mergers are happening. So how you
you're right.
motivate in those difficult time?
Okay. And the reason why I'm saying why I started with yeah is because you said motivation, and I was reading an article about motivating teams. And but this is what I do to actually keep my teams motivated and stay on track, right? Any team that I join, I spend like the first week getting to know them, getting to know their strengths, getting to know what they like and what they don't like, and their weaknesses, right? To help them become better and improve their skill set. Also, constantly communicate with my team if they're happy and they're enjoying the work that they're doing, right? And if they're not enjoying it, they're not happy, I try to change things, right? Of course, with the help of the senior leadership, because as a scrum master, you're not an authority figure. Rather, you collect data and you work through that. So, basically find out why your team isn't motivated enough. Why aren't they happy? Because it's very hard to motivate people, right? Because sometimes maybe it's not you that's demotivated them. It's other factors that are motivating them in the project, right? Keep on changing requirements, or keep on shifting directions every single time, or they're not happy with other teammates, and they're not motivated because they're not working on the work that they can enjoy. So if you can change the course of like their work that they enjoy, it's will be a lot easier to motivate them. And that's would be my approach.
Yeah, so most of the time people feel motivation is only come from a monetary benefit, but as you rightly said, it's not the case always.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And keep on asking your team, are you happy? Are you happy? Are you happy? I know it becomes very repetitive, but then once you start to question, because team will feel like you really care if you ask this question over and over again.
Yeah. Great. Okay. And according to you, what makes a team successful? So for you, what is a high performing team, and how a Scrum Master can contribute to make one high performing team?
For me, okay. For me, high performing team, right? When you say high performing team, it's kind of like you can set your success criteria, what you think that the team's successful criteria is going to be, and they need to be aligned with the companies or organization's successful criteria, right? So for me, if the team is communicating, because it all boils down to communication, communication, communication. I want to make sure that they're communicating constantly, not only within the team, but outside the team, right? With the dependency partners, with the clients, or that they're directly working with, right? Also, how do they feel, right? I want my teams to feel empowered to make decisions, right? They're making decisions, they're solving problems, and they're being proactive, right? That's what I would look and then consider a successful team. Also, how strong their engineering practices are, right? And it's like, look at the previous data, right? How the team was, or how the team dynamics were, where they are. And to top that, I would consider a team, high performing team, if they're really happy. So again, create that happy environment, right? I move with the motto called, or quote, right? It's wake up every day to live the life of your dreams. And since a lot of us, right, big percentage of people spend a lot of time at work, maybe right now it's virtually, but still spending a lot of time at work, you need to be happy at work and create that happy environment. So keep people motivating, keep people performing.
Okay, great. Okay, so now this one is a little different. So can you give us any example when you had a disagreement with your team member or team member with different team member? So how you handle that kind of conflict situations?
Okay. Think I'll bring in if somebody had a conflict I had a conflict with. So um, I actually can speak about one of the senior member in the team. You can say senior developer. Every single time we try to bring in the user stories, right, and they're large user stories, um, he kept saying that that, oh, we cannot break these stories into smaller user stories, and it's hard. And I had actually given them estimation workshop, right? Even after that, he's like, it's very hard. So what I had to do, I actually brought him into the room with the whiteboard and the markers, and we start sketching things out, right? Let's get the, so we got on the whiteboard and we start drawing, like, what is the work? Let's see what is our understanding is, right? So we drew some components and we drew the pieces that he was going to work on. So we found that there are three things that are there. So out of those three things, I say, can we split these into three user stories now, right? Since we've figured it out, like, there are three pieces that you have to work on. And by drawing there and sketching there, he realized, yes, those stories can be broken into smaller user stories and in digestible chunks. And that's how I actually dealt with it. And then moving forward, things got better. Things take time, but over time things get better. So that's how this got better.
Okay, sounds interesting conversation you might have with your colleague. Okay, and other one is very generic thing, but most of the time this question has been misinterpreted with the common fellows, and this is on the estimation part. So how to estimate efforts in agile project? So if you can just share some of your thoughts on that.
Okay. Well, when you're talking about agile estimations, right? It's to start with, right? You just don't want to count on effort, right? Of course, the effort piece is there, and to be honest with you, it's like it's the most difficult thing for agile teams, not only agile teams, but any team to estimate. And there's a reason why it's called estimations is called like development team's worst nightmare. So when you're actually coaching your teams, right, coach the team to have them estimate based on 5 factors, right? One, of course, is the complexity. Another one, the amount of work that needs to be done, the risk and the business value, right? And the fifth one is dependencies, because many times when people try to estimate, they estimate off of the positive scenarios. They don't think about the negative scenarios. So it's, as a Scrum Master, you need to have them think about the negative scenarios, right? What if certain things go wrong, right? What could be the risk factor around it? And once they based off of these 5 factors, I think estimation, I'm not saying that's precise, but it's close enough to precise, and it gets better over time because things take time, and practice makes you better every day. So as much estimation practice they do, as much better they get. Other thing that I have tried with my team to actually show how estimation really helps is doing some agile games, right? So of course you probably heard of the penny exercise, right? How do you take the badge of 10 pennies, then badge of 5 pennies, and 2 pennies, correct?
Sorry,
You were saying something,
you
so.
want to continue? Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
no, you were saying something, so I just stopped. I thought there was a lag.
No, no, no. Yeah, please continue.
So yeah, basically I was saying that, go through these exercises, go through certain activities, right? Bring in different type of thinking and collaboration with the team so they can do better job in estimation, and tell them from the start that estimation is not something that you can take on, in one time and that improves overnight. It's not an overnight process. It's a long-term process, but it helps you. It helps you communicate. And the timeline or the estimations that you're providing, it's not hard, right? It's you're getting close to it, right? It's not that, okay, you said this will be done, or this is the 3 story points, so it is, why isn't it done in 2 days? Why isn't it done in 5 days? Things like that. That's the misunderstanding there. So make sure that's clarified.
And we also seen couple of times that some of the team which are pretty new, they start giving estimation for coding efforts and then testing efforts separately. So you might have also seen maybe. So what is your take on that?
In my experience, it's been in every organization I've been to. you know, every organization I go into, they, when they provide estimates, they provide differently. They say, okay, this is the development, this is the testing, this is the UAT. And the thing is that, need to that tells you right away they need to be mentored, because what they're doing, they are saying that they're agile teams, but they're running agile fall within themselves, right? Because they're working on their piece, and they're working in a team, but they're not working as a team. So when you coach
So,
them on estimation, right, help them that, it's not that, you have to give me estimation only on dev side. You have to understand what we are doing exactly, and then give me one single estimation. Again, to that same point, it's hard, it's not easy, but at least through communication you can figure things out.
great. Okay. So now next one is little tricky. So how to commit a timeline, to the client when you're just started. So let's say you are just into sprint one, and client is asking you for the final product delivery. So how you are going to give that kind of, I would say, estimation again to the client when your team is just started? You don't have, your team is not having that much experience. So you encounter that kind of scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, so I dealt with it, but it's not that I dealt with it in sprint one. More for me in my example, not the company that I'm working with right now, but in the previous company. So what had happened is, in the middle of the product delivery, right? Stakeholders came in and asked for a final product timeline. And to that point, right, I told them that we are agile teams, right? And that's not how we move. Our focus is not, to give a certain deadline and then, say like, okay, if I give you a 2 years timeline, right? Do I know that it's going to take 2 years to deliver this product? Maybe or maybe not. But right course of action would be to listen to your clients, what they're asking for, right? And understand their requirements. Then ask them for what is your MVP looks like, right? Looks like, because you already done this exercise with your previous team, right? But this time it's other clients, or the senior member or somebody else is asking. So work with the what is the top 10 features or MVP looks like for them. reconnect with your development team, give them a high, or get them to do the high level estimates and communicate those timelines with your stakeholders and give them options and possibilities. Okay, this is what it looks like based off of our readjustment of MVP.
Okay. Now this is the last one, and I'm sure you will like it. So, what was it about this job as a Scrum Master that interests you?
Oh, um, for me, as I mentioned earlier, that I love being a Scrum Master, and here's the reason why I love being a Scrum Master is because it helps me communicate with people, right? I get to work with many different personalities on daily basis and learn from them. For me, it's all about learning, right? And then it also helps me to become better as a human being and then learn from other people's mistake, right? Don't just learn from your mistake, but learn from other people's mistake and also understand how people interact into different situations and different scenarios and how they deal with it. And of course, I'm all about the agile framework, right? How you take big chunk of problems or complex problems and break them into smaller sets and deliver iteratively and inspect and adapt frequently. And that's the
Yeah,
agile
I would
mindset.
also
I
like to
love it.
add one or two line over here. Like for
Sure.
me, if you ask what's interest is, as you mentioned, the communication part. For me, every day is a new set of challenges, new
Right.
set of issues, new set of
Exactly.
something down the line is happening. If you are a Scrum Master, you are contributing towards the success of other people, I would say. So
Yes.
you will see their success as your success. Okay, you as you mentioned, right? What makes a team successful or what makes a Scrum Master successful? So when you see that your team is progressing pretty well, and when your team is getting appraised from everyone that yeah, you are doing a wonderful job, then you would also feel yeah, at least somewhere down the line my contribution is also there in this success, and that's
Right.
what make me happy, honestly.
Yeah. And to add on to what you just said is you actually complimented my answer, but I'm going to compliment your answer also. You as a Scrum Master know that, right? When the team does the work, they hear the feedback and get the credit, right? And that's what makes you happy. You as a Scrum Master probably don't get a lot of credit, right? Because you're doing the work in the back end, right? Which is fine. But then that's the key for a Scrum Master is like, hey, and
Absolutely,
team
to
is
be in the
being
background.
successful,
Yeah,
team is moving. Yeah.
yeah, great, great. Okay, Jay, so I think we have a very wonderful conversation with you, and one more time thanks again, Jay, for your time.
Yes, thank you. But then I have a question for you.
Okay.
We can't. You're going to ask me all the questions, and I get to ask one question.
Okay.
For you, what was it that sparked you to be a Scrum Master?
Okay, so I was a mainframe developer. I don't know whether you heard about AS400. It's kind of mainframe,
Okay.
and I was at that time working as a team lead. And this buzz is there at that time, and people are moving from waterfall to agile way of working. And so, in one of the project, we got a you would say opportunity to work in this Scrum team, and from there it's all started. So earlier I was more inclined toward project management because again what you see in your leaders, right, you try to in a way they will influence you. But then sooner or gradual I found a couple of good agile coaches, and I would say I was lucky enough in the beginning of my career that I find such a nice people, and then that's those people inspired me a lot in this particular field, and that's how I started, and I found it pretty interesting. So I have also done a PMP. I would not say it's not relevant nowadays. They also PMP has already changed their 50% of their syllabus to agile way of working
All right.
now after so many permutation combination. So this is how I my shift has started, and yeah, it's now almost I think 6 7 years, and I really enjoy working being a scrum master, or I'm helping. I mean, whatever help I can provide, I'm helping to a lot of other people.
Right.
So yeah, that's
And
a
thanks to you, and not just thanks, but many thanks to you, a ton of thanks to you for helping everyone out there, right? And do this good deed for people, right? I'm pretty sure everyone else appreciates that. Um, so going back to that you took PMP, I would say, like, even if you change your career or shift into a different career, any type of learning is helpful because you gain experience, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, those skills, whatever I have developed at that time,
Right.
really helped me a lot. It's not like I'm telling a PMP is not a good thing. You will get a lot of depth, honestly.
Hmm.
If you combine that with whatever you are, I would say, yeah, that is my solid foundation. So when someone going to ask me what is risk for you, people honestly don't know what's the difference between a risk and issue when I normally ask them. Forget
Right.
about the type of risk and how it been. So I got a good foundation, I would say, but people have to spend their time, whatever the certification you are doing, right? Nowadays, just people want some kind of dumps or some kind of ready-made material. They just want to go through it and they just want to clear the certification. That's not the intent.
Right.
You should learn, you should earn that certificate, whatever you are doing it, right? So that's
Right.
my suggestion to whoever who's watching this particular video. Whether you are going for CSM, PSM, people ask me which is one is best, CSM or PSM or PMI, ACP. I would say everything is good as long as you are
Right.
actually working towards earning that certification, honestly. And yeah,
Yeah.
of course, certification will give you that foundation which is required. And if your foundation is strong enough, obviously you are going to succeed, right?
Right. It's more, for me, of course, certification and classes will help, but it's all about the implementation. It's all about the practicality because that's when you learn the most.
Sometimes I feel, Jay, that most of the time people will not get in that chance to implement, honestly. For
Uh-huh.
the various reasons, as you mentioned, they are working with some large organization. They really want to do a lot of things, but for whatever reason, they are not able to do, or they're not getting that kind of exposure, honestly. There might
Right.
be this reason, honestly. So if you are lucky enough, you will got some good client who will appreciate your efforts, and yeah, that's how. So I would say, yeah, it's more like a 50-50 kind of thing where you want to implement but you're not getting that opportunity to implement. As you
Right.
mentioned, startups are more open towards implementation part. They will listen towards you, they will welcome changes, right? But yeah, that's what that's what the case. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, put your best foot forward to implement. Hey, stick to your rules, right?
Yes, yes. So yeah, so thanks again, Jay. Thanks a lot for your time one more time.
No problem. Thank you. Have a
Yeah,
good one.
yeah, thank you, bye.